six pack, sit back and prepare to laugh. It's Drunk Dashers podcast. Grab a six pack, sit back and prepare to laugh. It's Drunk Dashers podcast. Grab a six pack, sit back and prepare to laugh. It's Drunk Dashers podcast. Grab a six pack, sit back and prepare to laugh. It's Drunk Dashers podcast. Sit back to the back of the back of the grab a six pack, sit back to the back of the back of the grab a six pack, sit back to the back of the back of the grab a six pack, sit back to the back of the back of the grab a six pack, sit back and prepare to laugh. It's Drunk Dashers podcast. Grab a six pack, sit back and prepare.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 195 of the Drunk Dashers podcast. I'm your host, as always. I am Tyler, and I'm wearing my Hawkeye onesie. But joining me, we have the King of the North. We have the Gables. What's up, buddy?
All right. I'm at my desk, and I am really kind of questioning why I have all the lights off right now.
It's really dark in here, guys.
But no, I'm doing all right. I'm just still kind of tired from the work week and stuff. I mean, all things considering, though, I've just got done trying to go through my area, see if I want to purchase anything big or anything else like that. It's like, unfortunately, because of the area I live in, a lot of the big products are normally snatched up around this time of the year because people intentionally wait until tax return time in order to try to buy the big stuff. And then you look at the store, like shelves and stuff, it's like, okay, everything's depleted. Oh, hey, there's a PS3 for $150 that I have not touched for the past year or something like that. Let's buy 3 of them. You know, just all that type of shit. How have you been doing, Tyler?
I've been doing all right. Long work week, but I went out and had a few drinks with friends before we started doing this. That was nice, kind of a little break from a long, crazy couple weeks of work. But other than that, doing okay. But also joining us, we have the King of the Southwest-ish. We have Troy. What's up, buddy?
What's the business? Yeah, I'm glad you went and amended Southwest, because I'm definitely not in the South. No, everything's all right, man. Just chilling here in New Mexico. Well, nothing much going on.
You're southerner than me, so.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely like cardinally, I am south of both of you, but like the South is definitely a specific region of the United States that New Mexico absolutely does not occupy.
Well, if Jake was here, I'd probably make him King of the South because he's from Tennessee.
There you go. That Tennessee is definitely in the South. Yeah.
So you take the southern portion of this podcast this week.
Southwest.
Yeah, good sauce. No, but Justin's not here this week, unfortunately. Apparently, taking care of his children is more important than this podcast. So obviously, his priorities are not straight.
We're gonna have a stern talking to.
Yes, I've already planned on. I'm writing a script right now, just to kind of give him a nice ringing too. We might just like make it part of this podcast, and he's gonna listen to it. And then I hope I want him to feel so bad he shuts the podcast off.
Just dress him down right now.
Yeah, and think about what he's done.
We're getting the cement moldings ready for his feet.
Yep. He has let us all down. We are all disappointed in him. I hope he feels terrible right now while he sits there and gives his kids NyQuil and cocaine. But anyways, that is an inside joke. Anyways, yeah, like I said, Justin's not here, so it's just 3 of us this week. But this is, I guess, apparently a video game podcast. So why don't we jump into
sometimes,
yeah. Or we're not talking about how baristas are being murdered or the weather. We do that. So we're gonna jump into what we've been playing this past week. I'm gonna start with Gables. Why don't you tell us what you've been playing?
Okay. This is sort of like an awkward transition from like one big game to another, but over the past couple weeks, I decided to power on Mario 64. Why? It's just been the type of month where I've just really wanted to play the Wii U, especially before the Switch launch. So I went ahead and I started playing Mario 64, and I started noticing little bits inside the emulation quality of this game. Now, when it comes to certain games, especially older games, if I'm playing it on ROMs on the Virtual Console or something like that, I do not notice a lot of like graphical hitches or any type of like graphical stuff, but quite literally, while going through playing Super Mario 64, I've been noticing Mario, like his polygon count. You know, like how his model is in Super Mario 64, how it's supposed to look. And all of a sudden, if he gets out of the distance or turns a certain way, it becomes like less pixels, like lesser in quality. That it looks like he's kind of like a basic, like MS, like he's flatter, like an MS Paint sort of like mess.
Yeah.
Maybe not that extreme though, but it's like you can notice like dips in like some of the frame quality when Mario moves and stuff. But anyway, the reasoning why I wanted to play a bit of Super Mario 64 is because it has been close to around, I want to say 20 years since I first played the game on the N64. Coming this April, actually, will be like the mark the 20th since I got the N64 first on my birthday of 1997. And so I wanted to go through and I wanted to collect every single star. And you know what? It's been a blast. I mean, going through, I've done playthroughs of Super Mario 64. I remember playing through the entire game in one sitting a few years ago, which kind of like had me going for like 5 hours. So that was literally a night that I I didn't forget anytime soon after that. But I went through and I had a situation and stuff where I went through the first 9 worlds like relatively easily, give or take a few like mishaps inside the lava world. But I went ahead and I started playing like the very last level, the little rainbow course and stuff like that. And for the life of me, I had already was playing like an hour and a half or some at this point of the game today. And I went through, I collected all the little stars and stuff. And it just dawns on me, it's like, oh, okay, I got the count right. It's like, am I missing a star somewhere? Like, what's going on? And literally, I'm going through retracing my steps in this course, and I ended up finding it accidentally when I go onto this airship, this little airship or something that's right by it's like right by one of the magic carpet points and stuff like that. So I go into the airship, and I remember that I opened a cannon flap and stuff because when you talk to one of the pink bombs and stuff inside the course and stuff, you open the cannon and do all this other stuff. Oh man, I'm just imagining like some random person now just listening to this and thinking, whoa, what the fuck's this guy on? But anyway, I ended up finding what exactly that I was looking for, the missing star that I wanted to find. Basically, what I had to do, I just went into the cannon, and there was this like loop, this rainbow loop that I had to shoot out of, pretty much. So I went through the loop, I went onto the platform that was on the other side. I collected the star that was inside one of those little question block dealies. And as soon as I jump out of the course, a little title pops up, the title of the name of the star for that particular course, and it literally said somewhere over the rainbow. Huh. It's a Wizard of Oz reference. I'm like, how the fuck did I miss that all these years? But anyway, yeah, I went through. I completed Super Mario 64 for, I think it's like either the second or third time I've ever done that now.
Damn.
And as I'm going through the ending cutscene, just for a brief couple seconds, I see Yoshi on top of the castle because I went through and get all the stars and stuff like that. Yoshi does not appear if you don't collect all the stars and stuff like that. This is the first time I actually saw him, and he actually was in place where he's actually peering down and looking at Peach and everyone else, and so I was like, God, that's fucking creepy. You just have this polygon Yoshi or something on the top of the castle looking down. It's like, what's going on here? Okay, but no, there was another thing that I was playing a bit this week. During my times at work, I decided to take my 3DS, my new 3DS XL with me, and I wanted to screw around inside Pokemon Moon a bit because I wanted to see if I could somehow teach myself how to do the SOS battling stuff. So basically what I was doing is I was doing the equivalent of shiny hunting, which, in case for people who don't know, in Pokemon you can go through some random set scenarios and stuff where you can acquire shiny Pokemon by doing sometimes mundane or even borderline like stupidly hard tasks and stuff in order to acquire shiny Pokemon. In Pokemon Sun and Moon, there's something called SOS battling, which means if you get a Pokemon at its little sliver of health, it'll call for help. And so how to increase that rate is you have to use something called an adrenaline orb, which makes the Pokemon more nervous. And then once it's at a sliver of health, either by battling with it or it inflicting damage on itself, it calls for another Pokemon. So what ends up happening is every time you beat this particular Pokemon and stuff, it is considered like a +1 for the chain. And so while doing it this week, I actually got through and caught about 4 shiny Pokemon. It's kind of weird how it happened, though, because they're very random when the shiny Pokemon do appear. I mean, I've had some when I did a chain of 40, had one when I did like a chain of like 124 or something like that. And then I got another one that appeared after chain 6. So it's like, okay, this is kind of odd right here. I'm just purposely going through getting some of the earlier Pokemon, the lower level ones, because I don't want to try to do SOS battling things in the higher level Pokemon because it's not going to work as good, because you are more inclined to get knocked out if, say, you battle a higher level Pokemon with, say, a Pokemon that's inside the 50s or the 60s or something like that. Mm-hmm. But it was just something I just wanted to try offhand because I've already done a lot of other stuff inside Pokemon Sun and Moon. I've beaten the games, I've done this and did that and stuff, but I caught 4 shiny Pokemon during this week, like an Alolan Meowth, I caught an Alolan Rattata and stuff. I caught a Growlithe, which that was surprising. That was the one that only took me about 6, like a chain of +6 or something like that in order to get. And the last one I actually got this morning when I woke up, which like is one of those little Rockruff and stuff. It's a blue Rockruff, and I like that. That's just weird kind of accomplishment to like go through. But what basically I've learned through going through not only the shiny hunting this week, but also with Super Mario 64 is just I've missed the sense of accomplishment of going through and playing a game and then just completing little tasks and doing this and doing that. I mean, beating a game is one thing, but going through and completing a game, doing everything that needs to be done, and then all of a sudden, like, not even taking too long during the week either. Maybe like a half an hour to an hour a day or something, just playing the game off and on. It's just been a really rewarding experience this month. I mean, at this point in time, I haven't even powered on my PS4 or my Xbox One. I've been exclusively playing the Wii U, and I'm like at 90-something hours played, I think, during this entire month. I've been keeping tabs of the time because of the whole daily routine shit, and it's like, wow, that's probably the most I've ever played this console in a single month throughout the entire time I've owned the system.
Wow. Oh, you probably played the system this month longer than I played it combined. So,
lifetime.
Yeah,
I know. For about the first, from launch day all the way up to around the end of 2016, I had not even played like remotely close to what I have at the moment. I mean, I had 30 hours of Mario Kart 8 previously, and then so on and so forth. But yeah. That's crazy to me. Yeah. That's it for me, though.
I'm digging the kind of like the farewell to Wii U tour we have going on with you.
Well, that's just the thing, man. I've owned this system. I've been distracted by other consoles and other games, and it just feels like I haven't really played this system at all. And so I'm like, fuck it. I'm getting some games. I'm playing them. I'm seeing what works and what doesn't. And hell, if it's a last hurrah for the system for me, then fuck, I'll do it.
Well, it's cool, man. Like I said, I'm happy you're still getting enjoyment out of it.
Yeah.
We're switching gears over to Troy.
Switch gears, yet not switch gears.
Oh.
So we recorded last Saturday, and that morning I had played some MechWarrior Online for the Proven Gamer 1,000 follower Twitch extravaganza. So today, around 4 p.m. or so, I thought about it and realized that I hadn't played a single video game in an entire week. Actually, more than a week, because I finished that at around 11 o'clock last week. So, I hadn't played a single video game. So actually, I decided I was in the middle of watching some videos online. I've been watching the Death from Above BattleTech scenario kind of game thing that Hyper RPG does on Twitch. Hyper RPG is Hyper Rabbit Power Go, I believe is what they call it. It's a channel that it was started by Harebrained Schemes, the company that's creating the BattleTech game, but they've kind of like spun it off. They do their own thing, but a lot of the people who do stuff like do content on that channel are employees of Harebrained Schemes, but also they have other people from the Seattle area in the gaming industry and stuff that do stuff. But they have all these themed events. They have they do the clicks games. You know what I'm talking about? They have like little figures that have like clicks at the bottom.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
So they do games with those and stuff. And so one of the things they did, they started last year. They've actually got a second season now. It's called Death from Above, which is a hybrid of BattleTech and MechWarrior, which is the same thing ostensibly. They're all in the same universe. BattleTech came first. It's the tabletop game with the little mechs that I talked about last week. So what they did was they've created these 3D modeled mechs, so they're like much larger scale, and they have this big table set up with all the hex squares and everything like that. But they alternate. So one day they do a MechWarrior portion, which is the role-playing game version of BattleTech, where they go through a scenario. They have their DM or whatever go through the scenario, and they're doing things, and then the next episode they play out a battle with the BattleTech pieces on these boards, and the scenario, it's like one continuing storyline. So then they play out the battle, and then when the battle is done, during the course of the battle, because they're dealing damage and everything like that, they actually literally do damage to the plastic mechs that they've 3D printed for this. So they've got a guy with a soldering iron, so it's he took 5 laser damage to the right torso, so this executioner will literally take a soldering iron and just cut into these mechs.
Damn.
So they take real battle damage, and then so at the end of the battle, whatever happens, they usually have guests playing the opposition force or whatever. They play out the scenario, and then the next MechWarrior section, they actually have to go about repairing the damage to the mechs, and that costs money. So it's you guys only have this much money, which means you can do this, you can do that, and then they'll actually go in and patch the mechs back up, for the next battle. But these mechs have gone through crazy amounts of battle damage and stuff. It's kind of crazy. So I've been watching the first season again, because I'd watched a few episodes of it, but kind of just time. I don't have a lot of time to do stuff like that. So today I watched a couple episodes of that, and then was watching the Unprofessional Fridays show from Giant Bomb. But then, I came to the realization, it's I haven't played any video games in an entire week. It's been a really busy week, just in general with school. I've got, group projects and all kinds of stuff just coming due. And then on top of that, literally a week and a half from now, I'm leaving to PAX East, and I'll be gone from Wednesday till Monday. So I've got to kind of get all of my schoolwork kind of squared away for that trip, so that I'm not stressing while I'm in Boston, trying to, oh man, I need to turn in this assignment, this, that, and the other. So I'm trying to get all my ducks in a row for that. So I forewent having any of my Twitch streams this week. I'll probably forego them this coming week as well, just so that I can, have more time to focus on schoolwork, just to get ready for that trip to Boston. But I did end up firing up my Wii U.
Oh wow!
And so I fired up Super Mario Maker of all games.
Nice.
I just hadn't played in a while, and it's funny because I had to go search for the game. Like I opened my cabinet downstairs where I have like a stack of like 5 or 6 games for all the systems that are like kind of the most commonly played games. Like for the Wii U, I had Mario Kart and Smash, and I think I actually had Tokyo Mirage Sessions there just because I stuck it in there whenever I opened it last week when it came into the mail. But yeah, I had to go find Super Mario Maker, but I was just kind of craving it. I was like, oh, I could kick back and do some Mario levels. I was thinking of doing like 100 Mario Challenge or something like that. So then when I fired it up, I I had to reconnect my Wii U to my Wi-Fi because I had issues with my internet during I think the last week or two, and I had to go and like reset all of my router and everything like that. So I ended up changing the password on my Wi-Fi, and I didn't realize it until I went to go fire up Mario Maker, and I'm already in the game, and it's like, oh, I'm gonna go to the course levels, and it's like pulling, downloading or whatever, and it's like, oh wait, the internet's not connected. So I was like, oh crap. So I had to back out of the game, go to the settings, reconnect to the Wi-Fi. But then when I got there, like the notifications pop up, and it's like, oh well, we've got some new what do they call those, event levels?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so I was like, oh cool, I'll check those out. So I popped that in and check it out, and come to find out, the last time I had played an event level in Super Mario Maker was December 2015.
Damn.
Whoa.
So I have quite a few event levels to go through and play.
There's some good ones.
Yeah, no, there are some pretty good ones. I think the last ones that I played were like the Southwest Airlines one and stuff like that. Yep. So yeah, So I fired up a couple of those. The first one I did was the Daisy level. That one was pretty easy. And then I played the Luigi's Mansion one with the Professor Egad skin.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, that one, I died a lot doing that one. So I ended up actually just finishing up that one before we started recording. So that's literally, I played 2 Mario Maker levels in the last week. So yeah, that's what I've been playing. I'm really looking forward to the Switch. It's coming on Friday, so like less than a week away. My Amazon order page shows arriving on Friday, so I'm super psyched for that, even though I probably won't have a lot of time to play. Just new technology. But yeah, that's all I've been playing, man. How about you, Tyler? What have you been playing?
I played more games, I've had a little more gaming time than you, but it's all been pretty much Madden, so... you guys want to hear me talk about... Are
you just playing random Madden games or what?
I do a franchise mode, and I'm I think I just finished my 9th season of my franchise mode. So
how long does it take you to play a season?
I don't know if I really want to say. 20
do you
hours,
simulate
maybe?
the games, or you play all the games?
Yeah, I play all the games. Probably 25 hours.
That's not bad.
Yeah, 16 games in a season, then 3 playoff games because I never lose.
Do you play? So do you play like real time, like 15-minute quarters or?
I do 9-minute quarters, but then like the play clock runs down to 25 seconds.
Oh, okay.
So it kind of speeds the game up from that. But yeah, I play through that a lot. That's kind of like my go-to. It's people might not know, and I know Troy might not know, but Gables knows. That it's kind of like my decompressing kind of game where it's like it's just a lot of people they always play Call of Duty or whatever, or to kind of relieve stress. That's kind of Madden's kind of that game for me.
So it used to be that for me. I would play full 15-minute quarters, and so like that was like back when I would recreationally smoke marijuana.
No,
I would just kick back in my room with the lights off and just like smoke some weed and play some Madden, and that was like my way of like relaxing and chilling. I haven't done that in many years, either part of that formula, but yeah, like I can definitely relate for sure.
Yeah, I put like 300 hours every year into Madden, so
cool. Well, you definitely get your money's worth out of it then.
Oh yeah, it's one of those games like if I paid $100 for it, I would be more than okay with that every year.
And so you play what on like maximum difficulty too, or?
Yeah, I play on the top difficulty, and I still win usually by like 40 points every game. I just play it now because I like building my franchise more than anything at this point. I think
cool. Does the maximum difficulty give you like a challenge, Or do you find yourself just like, I can see everything that the AI is going to do way before it does it? Or like, are you one of those people who can run back and like run circles and stuff and have the AI all chasing you? And, you know, my cousin used to do all that stuff with the NCAA games. Like, he'd just screw around with the AI. He'd run it back to the end zone and like run up and down across the field at the end zone line before he'd run it all the way back in for a touchdown, just because it's like, oh, I know exactly how this AI performs, you know?
Yeah, the AI is definitely smarter. I remember people doing that all the time back in the day, but no, I'm at the point now where I can, like, before I even snap the ball, like, I'll line up and I'll look at the defense. I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna throw it to that guy at this point, or I'm gonna scramble to the right by a couple seconds, and then I'm gonna throw it to this guy. I know this wide receiver is faster than this linebacker, so if he beats him in this cut route, and just wait, if I could get 2 seconds to throw it once he gets past the linebacker, it's gonna be a big play. So. Yeah.
You're basically like on a mental level, you're like a Tom Brady or a Peyton Manning. It's like you're just watching the game unfold in front of you, and you know exactly what's going to happen when it needs to happen.
Pretty much, it's quite disgusting. Yeah, that's really all of it. I mean, I played some Limelight, for maybe 10 minutes more of it. It's a game I like a lot. It's just like I keep telling myself I need to go play that game, and then like I get caught up doing something else. I tried to play. I was like 6 times went to go play on Sunday, and then I got sucked up watching Man in a High Castle. It's on Amazon Prime. That's a pretty good show, actually. I recommend people. I'm like 5 episodes into that now. But yeah, that's I guess from a gameplay perspective, that's all I've been doing. But next few weeks is gonna be crazy. Horizon is gonna come out, so I'm gonna try to play that. You know, it's just difficult right now with work. Really get any real good gaming time in. More than like
my god, that game! Like, everybody's talking about that game, and it's like, oh, you know, like we all need to get this game, and I'm like, yeah, that game looks totally dope. I was like, but like before today, I had played 3 hours of video games in 2 weeks, and it's like somebody's like, oh yeah, you can totally like. Because, well, you know, in the other groups, obviously, you know, like, once again, the other podcast I'm on is called Trophy Whores. Yeah. So, like, kind of the idea is they kind of gauge things in platinum trophies. So it's like, oh, well, it only takes you 50 hours to get the platinum trophy. I was like, great. Well, you know, doing the math in my head real quick, it's going to take me 33 weeks to earn the platinum trophy in that game. You know, if I continue to have the playing time that I have right now. Yeah. I was like, I would rather wait till summer after, you know, graduation, and maybe I've got some actual time to put on it, which will be fine. I mean, that game, I may even be able to get it at a discount by then. But everything, all the news and everything about that game is that it's just amazing. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's definitely the kind of what you said though, where it's like a Far Cry gameplay, and then like obviously the world that we already know what it is. So that I'm even more hyped than I thought I could be for this game. I didn't know there was a new level of hypeness for me.
You cranked it to 11.
Yeah, it's definitely an 11. It might be like 15 at this point. But yeah, I mean, I'm with you. It's like I got Final Fantasy 15. I bought that like 3 months ago, and it's still just sitting there. I haven't even turned it on. Resident Evil 7. I was excited for that game for like 6 months. I put like 3 hours into it, and I haven't gone back to it. So, and now we got a new console coming out, Zelda, Mass Effect, and Horizon all coming out in like a 3-week span. So I don't know how the hell I'm going to play any of these games. If anything, I'll have a shit ton of stuff to do for the summer for gameplay, game-wise.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. Like, I mean, all of these big games, like, it's like, they all seem amazing. Like I said, Horizon is one of those, like, coming into it, I was cautiously optimistic. I was actually, it's everything from what I've heard about it, it actually exceeds all of my expectations. I wasn't expecting a lot out of this game, but it's getting rave reviews from all of the news outlets and stuff that have gotten their hands on it already. So, like, I'm happy. I mean, I'm always happy when good games come out. Like, I never want a game to do bad, but also I didn't want to get caught up in the hype, you know, of this game, because so many times people get caught up in the hype and it just lets you down. But yeah, I mean, there's so many like big, good, huge games coming out, and it's like, man, I just don't have the time to play any of them. Like, I'm kind of like in the middle of Catherine that I need to get back to. You know, obviously I want to wait till I get on the stream to do that, because there's been people who've actually been watching me to get to this point, and I'd rather not like go off on my own and finish it without finishing that up. But like, yeah, I mean, little bite-sized games like the Mario levels is kind of like where I'm at right now. It's like, well, if I've got a few minutes, I can just, you know, bust out some Mario levels, because I mean, Zelda's coming out. and it's kind of fortuitous that it's coming out when it's coming out, because it comes out on Friday, and then literally Wednesday I'm going to spend all of Wednesday, on airplanes and in airports, and then I've got PAX East, where a large chunk of that, takes place waiting in lines and stuff like that, other than, going to events and stuff, not events, but like meetings. Like I've got lots of meetings that are scheduled, so that's not going to be a problem. But then, there's, time on the show floor, wanting to try out games that I don't have appointments for, or there's panels that I want to go to, and I don't even think a media badge will let me skip all the lines for the panels. So, there's going to be plenty of downtime where I'm just screwing around. So, I anticipate by the end of that trip to be pretty deep into Zelda, which will be kind of nice. And it's kind of the perfect storm of things, having this new console that's portable, to be able to take with me to dedicate to that, whereas Horizon, I can't necessarily take my PlayStation with me. I could play it in the hotel room, but like otherwise it doesn't do me a lot of good on the trip. So I'm looking forward to dedicating my time to Zelda as the big game that I and it may be the only big game that I really have time to do anything with before graduation in May, but I'm really looking forward to it.
Hey guys, this is Tyler. Unfortunately, my computer decided to take a shit, and I wasn't able to get the computer working again last night, so I'm out for the rest of the show, but Gables and Troy are salvaging on without me. I have not listened to the rest of the show. I'm still in the process of editing it, so hopefully it's good. I imagine it will. Those guys are funny. They're good. They know what they're doing, but it'll be interesting. I've never listened to the show when I wasn't on it, so it will be a new experience for me. But anyways, I'm rambling. I'm sorry. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of the show. And hopefully we'll be back next week and my computer will decide to work with me.
Well, due to some technical difficulties on Tyler's end, unfortunately he's not going to be able to continue the podcast for us. That means yours truly, the Colonel, is going to maintain the helm of this ship. And let's just get the ball rolling.
So we're going to jump into our topics of the week, I guess. I assume my monologue on the Horizon Zero Dawn and Nintendo Switch and everything like that just basically caused Tyler's computer to want to commit suicide.
It got too overhyped up on the Switch.
Yeah, it happened, man. Anyway, so we're going to jump into our first topic of the week here, which is the Crash Bandicoot N Sane trilogy, which has a launch date of June 30th, and it's going to cost 40 bones. Are you familiar with the Crash Bandicoot series at all?
Oh yeah, Crash Bandicoot. I've played a couple of the Crash Bandicoot games. The third one in particular I've actually gone through and beat. To be perfectly honest, though, this is probably going to be my first time going through the entirety of the trilogy, as I've played bits and pieces of the first. Never played the second, but I've went through the third in the entirety on the PS1.
Cool. But, so you would consider yourself a fan then?
Yeah, I really do like some bits of the Crash Bandicoot games. I'm actually openly excited for this game to come out. It's got a lot of hype. It does.
I personally don't have a lot of experience with the Crash games. I did have a PlayStation 1, but I don't know, I guess like it kind of had it, and I mean it was kind of in the realm of all those 3D platformer games. Your Spyro the Dragons and Jak and Daxter's and all of those kind of 3D platformer style games that kind of passed me by. I've played a little bit of it here and there. I mean, there's the notorious scene in Uncharted 4 where you got to play, I guess that might have been what is the first level of the first Crash Bandicoot game.
Yeah, it was the original. It was the entirety of the first level of Crash Bandicoot, where you're just going through and just running away from. It was the certain portion of the level where you're just running away from like a boulder, just coming rolling towards you and stuff. It just has that sort of like effect that sometimes Naughty Dog is known to do in some of their games, where they have this set scene or something it's kind of like a scene from Indiana Jones, when he's running away and has a boulder like going towards him and stuff like that. It's like one of those type of levels.
So, I mean, that's probably my only real experience with the game. Do the rest of the games or the rest of that particular game like follow that same sort of format, or does it open up more, or like how does the play kind of work with those?
Well, yeah, they do open up a bit more. There's little bits of collectibles on each stage. So I know for a fact in like Crash Bandicoot 3, you do have little set pieces that you got to collect throughout each level and stuff to completely 100% it. Every stage is some like a little bit different. There are some that are structured like, okay, some will work as a side-scrolling sort of stage aspect or something like that. There's different themes throughout like particular worlds and stuff. So one will have a particular scene like in that opening level for Crash 1. The other will be kind of structured as something a little bit differently, possibly like, say, a stealth, maybe like a little stealth mission or something like that, if I can remember correctly. I know there was like
I think I remember something about stealth.
I know.
Yeah, it's
that's bad. Cool. I haven't played Crash 3 in such a long time, but all I remember is like the little this one portion of a stage where you're actually inside of like a motorcycle or something like that, just driving too, kind of like a precursor to how they did Crash Team Racing.
Yeah,
in a bit.
Cool.
But yeah, it's sort of a bit different and stuff. But let's see.
So this is definitely a buy for you then. This Crash collection.
Yes, most definitely. The price point's very attractive. It's only like $40.
Yeah, I mean, not too bad.
I mean, wait until June is kind of a bit like, hit or miss for me. But at the same point and stuff, maybe they're going to have something going around that E3 Crash related if they're pushing it out, towards that.
That's like pretty close to right when E3 is, right? Like isn't it typically towards the end of June? So yeah, I mean it's a cool thing. I don't begrudge the games at all. Like I don't have the nostalgia that I think everybody else that I kind of know has for these games. So
yeah,
like it's kind of lackluster to me. But I mean I'm all about people getting kind of seminal games from their past gaming experiences brought back to the new consoles with upgraded graphics and everything like that. So I don't begrudge anybody. But yeah, I can't necessarily relate to the hype because I never really played those games in the past.
That's understandable. I kind of missed a lot of the PS1 games in general, considering I adopted late into the cycle and I could only play like a handful of games that I could.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that's back then, like you just kind of you had a game that you kind of focused on. Like for me in the PlayStation 1 era, it was the Gran Turismo games, and like Grand Theft Auto was definitely a series that I spent a lot of time on. So yeah, those were kind of where I was at back then. So yeah, I mean, it's cool.
Let's see. I know personally and stuff, there were some platformers I did delve into. I really loved to play Castlevania Symphony of the Night. That was like it's like in the realm like all those like platformers and stuff, and maybe some bits of like racing games here and there. But
yeah, it's cool. I've actually kind of my lack of spare time with school and everything notwithstanding, I kind of have like this new resurgent to want to go back and play a lot of these games that are highly revered from the past that I maybe missed out. I've been playing through the Final Fantasy games. I have the a rare replay on the Xbox One. I tend to go back and play
that's awesome.
The Banjo-Kazooie games and stuff. My little brother played the crap out of those games back then, on the N64, but I just was kind of just a little bit older than that. I was the only game that I was really interested on the N64 was GoldenEye, and I was playing the crap out of that. But so I mean, it's kind of like an idea of mine is to go back and replay a lot of these missed games from my past. I don't know whether or not I'll go back and play Crash. I don't know if it has that kind of clout for me to really care enough to go back and play. But like I said, I don't begrudge anybody the excitement for this game. I know it's one of those seminal games that people, a lot of people got into gaming around that PlayStation 1 era. And, when you're at that age, like that's the game that you're going to be playing as a child, just the same way I remember Mario 3 was that game for me, when I had an NES, and Super Mario 3 was the game, that I was out on the playground talking about and drawing pictures in my notebooks and all that stuff. I definitely don't begrudge that for anybody. And I know Crash is that for a lot of people. So, it's cool to see it, getting remade. I personally am curious whether or not it's going to live up to the hype, I know people in your mind, you kind of have this like rose-colored, rose-tinted glasses of how the game played because this is how you remember it, and it was a huge part of your childhood. I'm just afraid a lot of these people are going to play this and be like kind of disappointed. I'd really hate to see that happen.
I kind of feel like that it will satisfy the amount of people who are Crash Bandicoot fans and really love that type of like gameplay that they've missed since their childhood. But I don't think it's going to be readily like a big seller and stuff like that. Considering that a lot of the major Sony IPs and stuff like that, if they don't sell like between like a certain amount, like a couple mil or something like that, it's really like. Yeah, it's really kind of like hit and miss, though. Crash is just one of those games and stuff where it was big on the PS1, but because Activision had acquired that IP and stuff like that, and all of a sudden it's like sending out their own thing in Crash games, it's just been sort of a complicated thing. So hopefully this game sells enough to where it's going to gauge more interest from people.
Yeah. There's kind of a resurgence of the 3D platformer, if you will. You've got the new Mario game coming out on the Switch. You've got Yooka-Laylee, which is the spiritual success for Banjo-Kazooie. Like I feel like that genre of game kind of fell out of favor for a really long time, and it's kind of interesting to see the resurgence coming back and to have these either all-time classic versions of them and or super close spiritual successors by the original creators in the case of Yooka-Laylee. I think that if there's any way to kind of rejuvenate the 3D platformer genre, I think that's probably the way it's going to happen.
I know. I'm kind of frequently going back and thinking it's like either 10 or 20 years ago and stuff when the 64 was like running strong and stuff, because these 3D platformers are making a big resurgence, like you were saying, like not only like with Yooka-Laylee, but like Crash Bandicoot and all the other stuff, the Mario Odyssey. Yeah, it's just really awesome seeing that type of gameplay just returning.
No doubt. Let's go ahead and move on here. Are you familiar with the Dangonronpa series?
Yes, I really do like the Dangonronpa games.
Okay, because this next one is the PS4 Vita exclusive Dangonronpa V3 has a release date set for September 26th.
Wow.
Yeah, so this is another series that I have not actually played. I have, I guess, intentions to play it. It seems really cool. Kind of like the was it 999? Is that what it's called?
Well, yes. 999 is one of those games that are made by, I think it was made by the same developer as the ones that do the Danganronpa games.
Yeah. So like Zero Time Dilemma, I think, was the right?
That was the last one.
Virtue's Last Reward was the game that I played. I've got the platinum in that on the Vita. But yeah, I mean, so games like that, where it's kind of like a mystery. Like, I mean, I know I mentioned it previously that I've been playing through the Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney games, and this kind of seems like like a crazy weird hybrid of if you took the Zero's Last Reward games and the Ace Attorney games and kind of melded them together. That's what you have with Danganronpa.
So Troy, basically the Danganronpa games are kind of like a mix between sort of the Phoenix Wright style court cases along with, say, the movie Battle Royale and stuff like that, where basically you have a group of students and stuff trapped inside that Hope Peaks Academy or something like that, trying to escape from the clutches of an evil maniacal bear called Monokuma and stuff like that. In order to try to escape this school, they have to kill one another in order to try to do it. But the thing is, they got to get away with it scot-free. So in order to do that, they got to be proved. They got to get everybody else a guilty verdict in this sort of trial. And it's crazy. It's can be at times a little bit convoluted, but I love the series so far because the series as a whole has interesting story elements. It's got a lot of interesting style of gameplay mechanics. There's more than just the court scenes too. You're investigating crime scenes. You're going through and investing in playing little hints and mini games, especially when you get the sequel to the original Danganronpa.
Yeah.
But with Danganronpa 3, I'm kind of surprised that they've moved it from initial launch where it had the beginning of the year. All of a sudden it's way in September. I mean, I think that's a good thing. I think that's a very good thing. It would have been buried otherwise.
Yeah, well, so when was the original release date? Do you remember? Or was it just supposed to be kind of early in the year?
Well, the original release date, if I remember correctly, I think it was either late January or possibly around this month where it should have been released. So
yeah, so I mean, obviously we know there's a ton of games coming out now, so there's definitely a shot that it would get buried there. But also, I'm kind of worried that being in late September, they're hitting right at the edge of when games start coming out for the holiday season. So there's a chance it might get lost in the shuffle there. But also, I do know that the first two games are being packaged together and re-released on the PlayStation 4. So I don't know the date on that. I don't actually have that data with me, but it would make sense for them to push that back until at least that package gets released, so that a lot of people who didn't get a chance to play these games on the Vita can jump into them before the third one came up, and also maybe that builds up more hype for it in order to get more sales than they would have got otherwise.
Exactly. I know from previous talks that I've had on the podcast with Tyler that he's more and more interested in trying the Dangonronpa games, especially since a few years ago, like playing through the first 2 games of the Vita itself, kind of, and like how I've speaked highly of them and stuff. He's really had an interest in trying them out on the PS4 when they do eventually release, which hopefully is probably in the next month or 2.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's a release date on that package. I could probably search it up, but I don't want to, click on my keyboard while we're recording. But yeah, I know that's incoming. I'm actually probably more inclined to play the first 2 games on the Vita rather than getting the package on the PlayStation 4, just because I always like it to have an excuse to have more games to play on my Vita. But I definitely, it's definitely a game that's on my list of things. I'm all about all the crazy anime shit, and I'm enjoying Ace Attorney, and I'm also like totally into the visual novels, and the idea of like a crazy homicidal teddy bear is just like super awesome. So I definitely look forward to checking this out for sure. So the next couple items are all Switch related. So the first one is the fact that there is no virtual console coming to the Nintendo Switch at launch. As of when we're recording on Saturday night, the 25th. So we're literally less than a week from the Switch's launch. And it's kind of interesting that a lot of details just haven't come out about the system. I mean, coming this close to having a new piece of hardware launched, like, we know very little about the system, even though this last week a lot of the major news outlets, your GameSpots, your IGNs, all those people have actually gotten their hands on Switch consoles. Even there's a lot of pieces of information that they don't have about these things, just because these things haven't fallen into place. But one thing we do know is there will be no virtual console at launch, which may or may not be a big deal. How do you feel about it?
Well, personally, it's not really much of a surprise that the virtual console is not coming out at launch, only because Nintendo has said next to nothing about it in terms of, like, say, they normally would do something of the sort if it's getting closer and closer to the specific launch of, say, the console or something like that. But let's also not forget, though, that the Wii U didn't exactly have the virtual console things ready upon its launch as well. But for my personal opinion, it's like, I am really not too concerned at all that there's no virtual console at launch. It's coming eventually, but at the same point, I'm of the mind, it's like, I'm buying a new system. I want to play some new games, more or less lightly playing the new Zelda game. So, yeah, it's shitty, But what it kind of sounds like, they're probably going to introduce it sometime, possibly within the next 6 months. Personally, maybe like around June, maybe around the September thing, just to get in, just to try to prepare and stuff to like the holiday season, perhaps. Maybe they'll show something in E3 along the lines of what maybe have like a major release and sort of virtual console content instead of like having their slow trickle of stuff, because Nintendo's notorious over the past 10 years on their Wii Virtual Console, on their Wii U Virtual Console, just releasing this sparse little games, like maybe every few and far between. Like maybe you'll have a couple N64 games one week, maybe a couple weeks go by, don't see anything major, then you have maybe Wii content come out every week, like a couple weeks. It's just so random.
Yeah, no doubt. I feel like there's like a lot more going on with the Switch then too as well, because like there's the rumors that the GameCube games are supposed to be on this virtual console, that now all of a sudden the virtual console games and all of your digital content is going to be tied to your user account rather than the actual console, which is kind of weird, because the information that's come out about it so far seems to point that even though it's attached to your account, if you happen to have multiple Switches, you can't have one purchase on both Switches at the same time, which seems kind of crazy, kind of backwards. I mean, because if I own a game on, say, like my PlayStation 3, I own two PlayStation 3s, I can easily have that game on both of my PlayStation 3s. Hell, if it happens to be a cross-platform game, I can have that game on both of my PlayStation 3s and both of my Vitas, and be able to play them, with no problem between all of those consoles. So it's kind of an interesting thing. I mean, it's definitely a step forward for Nintendo, considering in the past that whatever game you bought was tied to that particular system, which I have to deal with now, because, I have my Ace Attorney games that I purchased on my new 3DS XL, but then I have games like Super Card Jockey hockey and stuff like that I bought on my smaller 3DS, my original launch 3DS, and so those games are forever tied to that 3DS, and I can't play them on the bigger screen that I'm on my new 3DS XL. So I mean that's a real shame. So it's nice to see that the games are at least tied to your account, so that if God forbid something happens to one of your systems, like your Switch takes a dump and you've got to buy a new one, at least then you will have the option to re-download those games onto your system. But I think they're losing a lot in the fact that a lot of people, especially families, which tend to be the primary market for a Nintendo system, they may own two systems. I mean, I could see myself buying a Switch for my kids and then having my own personal Switch, and it'd be really nice to be able to have those games play between those two systems.
Well,
but and yeah, I mean, I mean, it's just not a lot known about the Switch at this point, which is kind of disheartening. I mean, I'm definitely planning on having it, like, I mean, I'm excited to get it, and I'm excited to play Zelda, and like you, I'm not too concerned about Virtual Console not being there at launch. I mean, I've got plenty of avenues to play old Nintendo games. I mean, I've got an NES Classic Edition. I can play all the, original Nintendo games I want, but I mean, it's just kind of, it almost feels like the Switch is being rushed to market, even though there's no real competition. I mean, you've got the Scorpio coming out in the holiday, which I guess is competition. So maybe Nintendo wants to steer clear of that and get it in an earlier in the year. But it almost feels like this console is coming out kind of half baked, if you will.
Well, that's just the case, though. That's kind of more or less for tie-in with Zelda in sort of way, because they've had Zelda on the back burner for so long in terms of development cycle that it just seems like Zelda kind of forced their hand with this console to begin with. Because of how soon like the system is coming out and stuff, it seems like some of the features are not really as prevalent, like you were just saying. It's a Virtual Console. There's all sorts of other like type of little indie games too that are not like releasing on like the launch date in of itself. But at the same point, though, there are other console. I mean, the Xbox One, the PS4 too, can have had similar like sort of effects things where they haven't had a lot of the features that they've had like exactly at launch, which kind of felt they were rushed to just to get out because of how long the previous console cycle was in general. But
yeah, I'm definitely
at the same
seeing
point,
that.
though, I agree with you.
I think they're still trying to get the Xbox One dashboard, right, because it's still kind of a hot mess in my opinion. I know a lot of people will defend it to the death, but that dashboard is a hot mess.
Yeah, it is.
But
it's
kind
really
of
hard to
sticking
find
with,
certain content.
The whole Nintendo Switch being kind of rushed to market, if you will. There's been issues that have popped up this week around, like I said, all these bigger sites and stuff have gotten their hands on the Switch early, and one thing that's kind of jumped out as kind of a trend, it was kind of mentioned on Twitter a couple days ago, and then kind of it snowballed from there that all these people had confirmed that this was an issue, is the left Joy-Con, when it's not docked onto the Switch tablet, but rather like either in the Joy-Con grip or even if you're playing with it in your hands, will occasionally like lose sync with the system, which, I mean, if you're using that left analog stick to move, say playing Zelda, and then all of a sudden it loses sync with the console, all of a sudden you're not moving, or maybe it's stuck moving in a certain direction. There have been a lot of people saying that it's caused, deaths, when you're playing. And I mean, in the grand scheme of things, how horrible is that you, oh my God, I died, and you have to start again, but just kind of disheartening knowing that, this piece of hardware, in certain circumstances will lose, its connection with the console. Like, that just seems like kind of a problem.
Yeah, that is a problem, though. But at the same point, Nintendo could have easily probably remedied this if they had like some sort of patch for the Joy-Con things, maybe day one or something like that. Because other than that, though, yeah.
So that's the thing is a lot of people are worried about or wondering if this particular issue, this flaw, if you will, can be patched, fixed in a patch. That's kind of been, speculated that, well, I mean, Nintendo is going to have a day one patch because everything at this point has a day one patch. I think we were joking around before the show because we saw the news headline that the Mass Effect Andromeda has a day one patch. And it's like, well, why even mention that? Because everything today has a day one patch. I think it would be more newsworthy if it didn't have a day one patch. But so, yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people are kind of hopeful that this is something that'll be able to be patched out. In my mind, it kind of brought back memories of the iPhone 4 when it first came out, and they were having issues with the antenna with it, where it would drop calls, like when you're holding the phone. And I know early on that Apple had basically said something to the effect of, well, just don't hold the phone like that, and that seems like kind of a PR nightmare. And
oh my gosh,
Nintendo being the way they are, I could actually see them coming forward with something like that. Like, oh, well, you're just holding this thing wrong. I mean, we don't know if it's a major hardware defect or something like that. I know Jeff Gersman from Giant Bomb actually went through, and rather than just complaining, oh my God, this thing is disconnecting, oh, this is crap, he actually tried to experiment with it to try and figure out, what circumstances this was happening and stuff. And for him, it was happening when he was like 13 or more feet away from the console. So we're talking,
right.
a pretty good distance away, which it's not too outlandish to think that the console, I mean, one, if you're playing in tablet mode, if you're 13 feet away from that tablet, you're not seeing anything anyway. So it's on your television where it's going to be an issue. And, I kind of eyeballed where my Switch is going to be sitting on my entertainment center. And from where I sit pretty much anywhere in my living room, I'm going to be within 8 or 10 feet at the most from the console.
Right. So
hopefully if that is, kind of the window of where that happens, I shouldn't have too much issue with that. I could see maybe, once again, because I'm taking my Switch with me to Boston, a lot of times in hotel rooms, the television's on the wall on one side, and then you're sitting in your bed in the hotel room, which I can see some of those distances getting pretty close to that, 12 or 13 foot range, which, could pose a problem. But I think under most conditions, I don't see that being a huge issue, but it is kind of disheartening. But then you compare it to like the Wii U gamepad, which once again, off the air we were talking about that, but I can't walk into the kitchen, 15 feet away from my Wii U without losing signal on that gamepad. So, I mean, it's, I guess, kind of to be expected, but it's also kind of a little bit disheartening, to know that this is an issue.
Well, in my opinion and stuff like that, yeah, these certain issues do pop up with like the launch consoles and stuff, but at the same point and stuff, this whole thing with the Joy-Con thing, yeah, it's concerning that there are issues with the connectivity issue, the connectivity stuff in general. It just sounds like to me possibly that it could have something more or less to do with maybe like the signal strength of the connection, maybe something like Bluetooth related with the controller itself. I mean, like you were just saying though, with the experiments and possibly being how far away you have to be. I've seen some like video instances where people have actually gone through like have their hand over the sensor thing with the thing like, going through and not connecting as properly or just putting it behind your back or something like that. Just really close kind of proximity and stuff with some of the syncing issues popping up.
So you're saying they were still happening in yes. closer proximity just by almost like putting something, even your body, in the way between the Joy-Con and the actual system itself?
Yes, from the video that I was watching of from Game Explain and stuff, this guy that was going through playing with a Switch actually experimented to where he was he had the orientation of like the control stick or something like that on the top or left-hand portion of the screen, marked in sort of like a green kind of radar sort of thing. And so every time that he would move the joystick or something like that, if he had his hand over the Joy-Con itself, it actually was making it maybe a little less like connecting wise, sort of like unstable. But once you put it behind his back and tried moving around, he pretty much lost.
Just completely lost. Yeah. So that menu that you're talking about, there's a calibration yes. menu in the Switch. So basically what it does is it's a circle that when you're moving the analog stick, it kind of shows where you're doing. It's just to show the calibration between it, which is a really good way to test this out. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of disheartening if it's, either your hand and or your body is enough to interrupt the signal from a Joy-Con to the console. That's a bit disheartening. And we haven't heard anything from Nintendo on this. I kind of searched far and wide to see if there's any sort of official word from Nintendo on this, because it has been, such a widely reported thing now that, you think they would want to get out in front of this, considering the console comes out on Friday and you don't want people to mass drop their pre-orders and everything like that
right.
because of this, so I'm kind of anxious to see what Nintendo has to say about it. I believe if it is something that can be fixed with a firmware update, and maybe they're hard at work trying to figure that out. Maybe they can fix it with a firmware update, and that's why they haven't said anything. That's cool. Also, if it's something that's going to require some sort of hardware revision, hopefully Nintendo can do what they can to make that good with consumers, the early adopters. If they have to redesign the Joy-Cons, and put out a new iteration, hopefully, those can be given to early adopters for free. I know it'll be a significant cost for Nintendo, but I feel like, these are the people who, put their money down right at the beginning, that they kind of deserve to be treated right, and not, the cost of Switch accessories being what they are, it's kind of ridiculous if they expect you to go off and buy a new set of Joy-Cons, in order to take care of this issue.
Oh yeah, I agree with you on that. I mean, I'm just hoping that this is like an isolated issue where people, or like with part of the press or something like that, like possibly getting maybe some accidental malfunction thing of one specific Joy-Con, because it's like it's only been the left Joy-Con in and of itself, and from what it seems like to me is maybe some of them had to do with connection issues, like for how long, like at place or something like that. Like I'm trying to make sense right now. I'm so fucking tired. just trying to know the connectivity issue, just how far they are from the screen here and so forth and stuff. But I just hope that when people get their Switches and they start playing Zelda or something like that they don't have this type of issue, say if they have it connected to that little dock or something like that inside the box. If so, we're going to hear a whole bunch of shit from a whole different bunch of people come launch day.
Oh yeah, and see, that's the thing too, is like my play case in the first week or so is literally going to be probably playing with this thing in portable mode, because I'll be in airports and everything like that, at the hotel and stuff like that. So I don't imagine I'll be playing with it docked, on the television much at all in the first couple of weeks. And that's kind of the important point, when in the first couple of weeks that this thing comes out, it's got to perform, because otherwise that's going to be a real big hit, PR wise and everything else for it. Everything that I'm reading, I think I read somewhere that some people were having issues with the right Joy-Con as well, but everything kind of really points to that left Joy-Con being a big issue. A lot of people are saying that they're switching to the Pro Controller when playing on the television, which is an option, if you will, but also the Pro Controller is $70. And I'm not going to go off and run out and buy a $70 controller, because the controller that comes with the console is inadequate.
Especially if it's supposed to work right out of the box,
Yeah, absolutely. Also, I'm wondering, I mean, I don't imagine it necessarily has anything, any adjustment on it, but I'm wondering if the colored Joy-Cons, like, I'm wondering if this is something that's specific to, any particular type of Joy-Con. My particular system, I'm getting the one with the gray Joy-Cons. I mean, I guess it's just wishful thinking on my part to hope that maybe it's just the colored Joy-Cons that are having this issue.
I know, it's kind of funny though, because a lot of the videos that I've seen, they have like the bundle and stuff with like the red and the blue Joy-Cons and stuff, and having some of the issues. Yeah,
that's from what I've seen, seems to be what's been going out to all of the outlets, is the one with the two different color Joy-Cons, the blue on the left and the red on the right. But I mean, logically, it shouldn't be just the colored ones that are having this issue. So maybe it's just me trying to shut off all the negative and have a buyer's remorse. I'm trying to avoid buyer's remorse. So like, oh yeah, no, the gray ones will be fine. It's the colored ones. But yeah, hopefully they figure something out. I really, really think Nintendo needs to get out in front of this and kind of make an official announcement. Like I said, I mean, the console's less than a week away, and we haven't really heard anything from Nintendo, which is par for the course, as you can tell from the last half hour of our conversation. The Nintendo is somewhat tight-lipped, but I think something like this could really make or break the launch of this console, and so they really need to kind of have an official stance on it and come out about it.
It's very important that they have something to like squash this sort of signal strength sort of issue and stuff, because even with like consoles that have had some disastrous sort of things at their launches, like say for example the Xbox 360 with the red ring of death, the overheating of stuff, at least Microsoft was able to work with some of their consumers and stuff. Even if the console fixes weren't exactly that great, because that hardware in general was prone to fail anyway. We've later found out.
Well, yeah, and that whole thing ended up costing Microsoft like billions of dollars to fix. So that's kind of a big deal. Like, I mean, granted, I doubt, even if they had to replace all the left Joy-Cons in the world, probably wouldn't cost billions of dollars. But
no.
Yeah, like that's definitely something. But that marred that console for a really long time. I mean, the red ring of death. I never owned an Xbox 360, but I have friends who went through 3 or 4 of them before they finally got one that was able to stand the test of time.
I know. I can personally say I never did have a red ring of death on whenever I did own a 360.
Right? Yeah. I still have my launch PS3, which a lot of people actually didn't have those last for too terribly long either. The yellow light of death would go on those, but I'm lucky enough that my launch PS3 is still kicking. But I mean, but also, we want to take it back to the 360. Even though those issues were happening where people literally had to go out and get 2 or 3 replacement Xbox 360s, that console still kind of dominated that generation of consoles.
Yes,
so like it overcame this issue. So that bodes somewhat well for the Switch, I guess, kind of.
As long as it doesn't have any major effect on the actual Switch console itself, besides like just the one defective Joy-Con, or maybe in this case, maybe 2 maybe somewhat defective Joy-Cons.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
So I guess it depends on where the core of the issue is. If the issue is with the Joy-Con itself, then a redesign might fix it. Whether or not Nintendo offers a free replacement of the Joy-Cons or not, that could be an option. I know the Pro Controller hasn't been having this issue. I don't know if the connection between the Switch and the Pro Controller is different than the way the Joy-Cons connect to the Switch. Maybe it's something where the antenna in the Switch itself doesn't, have enough power, at which point in time maybe a firmware update can fix that. Maybe they can boost the power of the signal coming out of the tablet portion of it. Because that is the Switch. When you think of the Switch, that tablet is the system. The dock that it docks into for your television is really just a pass-through. So the signal goes into that and then out to the television. So there's nothing about that dock itself that has any processing power in it at all. So it's all going to be in that tablet. So maybe they can do a firmware update that kind of boosts the signal coming out of whatever antenna, comes out of that thing to communicate with those Joy-Cons, which could have a negative impact on the battery life.
Possibly.
Well, yeah, okay, go ahead. Yeah.
I mean, possibly, there have been some cases where like increased signal strength can be a strain on the battery and make it significantly less last longer.
Yeah, but I was just thinking about that because I had once again had, we'd mentioned this earlier that, it happens when you're, say, within, 15 feet, outside of like more than 10 or 12 feet from the console. If you're playing with it undocked with the kickstand on, you're not that far away from the console. So It seems like the use case scenario where this would happen would be where you do have it docked in the dock, playing on your television, and you just happen to be, more than 10 or 12 feet away from the actual docked Switch, sitting on your couch, sitting on the bed, sitting wherever you might be that's, that far away from it. So at which point in time it should be connected to power. So there should be no reason why they couldn't make it boost the signal. Maybe they have it set up in the firmware so that it senses that it's under power and it just automatically puts out a stronger signal. Under those conditions, that could probably fix it. Once again, I'm speculating because I don't even know what's causing this problem. I don't even know if Nintendo knows what's causing this problem, but it's kind of fun to brainstorm these kind of things.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
I mean, do you have any more thoughts on the concept?
Well, to be perfectly honest with you, I've pretty much said all that I can think of at the moment. I mean, heck, we won't really know until the launch day comes out this coming Friday.
Yeah.
So hopefully
we know before then. But yeah, absolutely. So yeah, let's see. We're looking at. I've got an hour and 13 minutes recording here. I mean, it looks like it's going to shape up to be a short episode, unless we want to talk about something else. I think actually that would be a good stopping point right at the moment. I'm just going to go ahead and just start closing things out. So. Cool. For all of you listening out there, we do appreciate if you would subscribe, maybe leave a rating for our podcast, because, hey, we would sure love to hear from you. Anything
Any type of ratings, any type of things would help us out in general. If you want to find us on Facebook, we are Drunk-Nerds. If you want to follow us on Twitter and see what type of happenings and stuff are going on there, it's Drunk Nerds Pod. And we also do have like a Twitch channel itself. I believe it's Drunk Nerds as well.
I think it's a Drunk Nerds Podcast. There is a Drunk Nerds account, which is actually owned by the podcast, but the login information has been since long lost. So they created a new one called Drunk Nerds Podcast.
Yes, you are correct. That's what Tyler's been going on and on about too over the past couple episodes. But I do know on occasion that Justin does like some bits of streams whenever he finds the time. Tyler does a bit. I've done some on occasion, but more than likely probably won't do any time this week. So until next time, everybody, this has been another fun-filled episode, an unexpected episode of the Drunk Nerds Podcast. I have been your designated host, Colonel Gables.
The designated replacement host. And I have been Troy.
So until next time, everybody, stay frosty.
Peace out.
Excuse me. You too many beers there. Anyways, we're on iTunes now, so go on there, check us out, and if you like us, leave us a review, and we'll even shout you out. And Jack will send you his credit card number.